With that in mind, we're going to start off whatever gentle flow has become by week 12. Quick prop check for you. I've got a bolster. If you've got 2 bed pillows, that'll work really well. A yoga block. If you don't have a yoga block, you could always use a thick book. Or if, great use of English as usual, Finley. A strap as well. If you don't have a strap, you can use a towel. You could use a dog lead. You could literally use whatever you want. So whatever you have to hand will be useful. To start off with, we're going to be using the bolster and the 2 pillows. I'm just going to turn this around just so that my face isn't in the sun for the whole thing. So if you have a strap, you have the option of adding it into Baddha Konasana to begin with. So I'll just give you a quick visual on that. So you're making a loop in the strap that is big enough to go around your body, sitting with your back against the bolster or the pillows, and then the strap is going to go to the insides of the legs and over the feet, and tightening until there's just a little bit of something happening at the hips and the lower back. I have the strap sitting just above my pelvis, and it provides just a wee bit of pull into the lower back, and then leaning back onto the bolster, palms face up. You might find that that's a really intense angle, so you can always elevate yourself physically, putting a block or something, whatever you have, like maybe it's the dog and it's really relaxed. You put it under the bolster so that when you come down, the angle is less severe. And if you don't like the strap, don't use it, either working feet together or legs long. So choose how you wish this pose to be. If you have no props, nothing, and you are kind of doing this prop free, that's fair. You can do this laying down on the back, completely flat, soles of the feet together, knees wide, and then close your eyes. So sometimes when exploring more restorative poses, it gets a little bit faffy, but the faff is worth it, because by the time we get to that place of rest, support, and deep breathing, then that's when the magic happens. So take any little movements here that you need to. I'm a fan of rocking the torso to the side, drawing one shoulder down, then rocking the other way, and drawing the other shoulder down. And periodically, after maybe a handful of deep breaths, you can move the shoulders, the head and neck as tension changes and as different areas start to relax. So sometimes people invent rules or have heard different rules about strictness in class. If there's discomfort, can you move or do something that will change it in a way that lets you be comfortable? But being very vigilant about whether you're fidgeting for the entire time. Maybe focus on being steady instead. Close your eyes and start doing an inhale for a count of 5. And an exhale for a count of 7. A gradually lengthened exhale. And for those of you that are newer, you are working your deep breathing in a way that engages the throat muscles, so there is a whisper sound, so ujjayi sound. It will be more prevalent and easier to accomplish on the exhale, but I encourage you to also recruit it on the inhale. For now, focus on letting that breath become very expansive and listen to the sound that it makes. It creates a soothing quality. So if you've heard of prosody, that kind of soothing sound a lot of animals make with their young, it's a similar sound, it's a very sort of swishy sound. So it's letting you calm a little bit. This lengthened exhale, hopefully being a very thorough exhale, is also starting to speak to your nervous system to bring you from a place of flightiness, erraticness, to a place of calm and steadiness. Now, if you're new to this session, don't worry, but over the last few sessions, we've been working with different concepts. So right now you're doing breath work, pranayama, one of the steps on the 8-limbed path of yoga. By closing your eyes and allowing your senses to focus on sound and sensation, you are navigating pratyahara, sensory withdrawal. Begin to work focus, dhyana, that's another strand. And your focus for today is to pay attention to when the reins of this class start to run away from you. So this class is called Gentle Flow. And the onus is always on you for it to be gentle. So you have control of the reins. And it can be really easy to say that the teacher went too fast, or that other outside external factors are what made your practice go a certain way. But that doesn't need to be that way. So for today, keep control of the reins. And the technique I want you to explore for that today is called Japa. So Japa is similar to mantra, but it is a repetition of one word. And you can replace this word, but the word that I've chosen for today is Ananda, which is the Sanskrit word for peace. If it relates better to you that you want to use the word peace, then use that. But I particularly like that the word Ananda rolls into the next and into the next and into the next. And essentially almost using it like a mantra repetition. Maybe you do say the word 5 times on the inhale to count that 5, and then 7 times on your exhale, or however many you need to kind of feel that balance of exhale slightly longer than inhale. And I want you to take the time to bring this in. And one of the practices of doing this is a practice of Samskaara, where you are focusing and meditating on a thing to become the thing that you meditate on. And so these repetitions can do that. I used to use it for strength, so I would use the word virya and use that over and over again. Not even during my yoga practice. I have memories of a turbulent time standing in Glasgow Central train station working this repetition over and over in my head constantly to control my breathing and to bring things to a place of steadiness. So maybe using Ananda, peace, or anything else that is resonating with you just now. So if your intention is the reins of your practice, I want you to let this japa, this process, be like an armor. It is the thing that stops you from being influenced by external harm for the duration of this practice. Blink your eyes open. If you've got your feet strapped, try to navigate your way out of there. So it might mean that there's a strap around your waist, and that's fine. Use your hands to bring the knees in towards each other. Roll to your left. Just be attentive that you're coming off of a bolster, and then bring yourself up. Now, I want you to keep the bolster in its current configuration, or the 2 pillows in that current configuration. I'm a big fan of doing this one with a very slight elevation at the top end of the bolster or of the pillows, just to give you a wee bit of space, but it isn't essential. If you do have the strap around your waist, then do go through the process of taking it off. So moving into a twist, I want you to watch me first, and I'll show you. So lining up the left side of the pelvis with the bolster, I want this to be in line with my torso. Chest is turning straight down, and then turning the head away from the legs. So you can either have the legs stacked. Sometimes when my back is pinchy, I like to work with the top leg straight. So your aim is to be in a bit of a twist. Perhaps, this is my favorite one, if you've ever seen those pillow husbands, this is very similar to that. Bringing the arm under and turning the head to the left. So you're beginning to introduce a twist, but it will change how the breath starts to feel into your mid and upper back. Any back issues, you can always take your pelvis a wee bit further away so there's maybe less abdominal pressure. I find when I've got back stuff, abdominal pressure against the bolster is actually a really sweet deal. Okay, so bolster or pillows are lined up. If you don't have anything, and you're thinking, my gosh, I don't have bed pillows, I have nothing, yet somehow you have internet access, you can do this pose without. It just feels a little bit nicer as part of a gentle practice to have some props. So coming on in, line up your left hip with the props that you are using, either with the legs bent 90 degrees or any oddness in that right hip or the inner thigh. Work that leg straight. Turn the chest, but not the pelvis. So pelvis faces the right side, chest is turning, and bringing the chest and abdomen down onto the bolster, turning the head to the left. The left arm is soft, so I've set my forearm down. The right arm can come underneath the bolster or simply have it alongside. Come back to your deep breathing. So previous pose, the props are supporting from underneath you, meaning the front ribs and abdomen could move freely in the way that they like to move. Here, not only are you kind of belly down, but you're also rotated. So it is a challenge to expand into the back and side ribs. Aim to do that inhale for 5 and exhale for 7, and easing into this, letting it be a suggestion of opening. Perhaps you're still working that process of japa, of working that repetition, and maybe there are other words that you want to put in there. Maybe there are things that over the last week have been coming up as important to you and you want to use that. I know that it's certainly a time of introspection and personal observation. Maybe it's a blessing that we are getting to see many people at this time. All right, now use your arms, bring yourself up out of there. Turning around, so whatever way is the easiest for you to switch to the other side. I like to kind of do like the butt roll, fully rolling around to the other side. Line up the right side of your pelvis with the props. If you're not using props, just maybe you're elevating the pelvis somehow. Bring the chest down towards the bolster. Left arm can go underneath it. Right arm is easing. So even if you don't feel massively active, I don't think that's a problem right now. We will do some more active stuff later. But for now, feeling for breathing in a way that presses the abdomen into the bolster. So you begin to explore what happens when you navigate abdominal pressure versus shallow breath. So if you're new to breath work, this can be really interesting work. And during your time in the pose, if you start to feel flighty or you start to get distracted, which is really easy with home practice, especially online, then close your eyes, do that pratyahara sensory withdrawal. Focus, bring back the intent of exploring some of these concepts. Pranayama, breath work. So anytime you feel bored or flighty, go deeper. Weave these elements into your practice. And these are the things that will give your practice longevity rather than short-term satisfaction. And if you are new and you're not aware that you're kind of in this for the long game, it's a long game. I really need to work on my motivational speeches because that came across as a telling off. To be continued. Carefully start to bring yourself up from here and come up towards seated. We're going to navigate one more chest opener and it's really down to you. So I'm going to present two different ways of doing this. One has more props, one has less props, and I want you to just choose what feels sensible for now. Maybe you look at one, you have all the props, you think that's too much faff, and you do the other one. So it involves a little bit of chest opener. So stage one of this, the thing that uses the least, is either with a block or a roll, taking that underneath the ribcage, holding the skull, and beginning to lean back. So this is part one. Some of you might find the feet flat works better, or a block set on a less tall setting, and pulling on the skull and doing little movements to navigate into where feels tight. If you are using like a cork brick or a wooden block like I'm using, or a book, cover it with a blanket so that it's less pokey. If you're looking for a different chest opener, this one can feel great big huge. Right? So you might want to have a blanket or something like that nearby. Aiming to set the bolster or the roll underneath the ribs and aiming to put the shoulders down on the ground. Now, at the minute, my butt is very slightly off the ground, so I'm going to pad it, so now my hips are able to take some weight and my shoulders are able to be down. Arms can be down by the sides or up overhead, wherever gives you a greater sense of opening through your chest. But I do want you to feel that the pelvis is on the ground. So choices. Come on into something. So it might be a roll. If you've got one of those like little inflatable balls that we have used before, then you can use that underneath the ribs. That's useful. Either that, bolster, and you can flatten the bolster down in the middle. If you've got a buckwheat bolster rather than pillows, you can flatten it down in the middle so there's less of an arch, or use the block. So I showed you the bolster one last. I'm going to do the one with the block. Leg positions won't massively influence this. If you're doing bolster, I find leg straight gives me a wee bit more out of this. If you're using the block, I've gone just below my shoulder blades enough to get into the chest and then holding onto the head. Elbows are wrapping in, but not with the same ferocity and intensity that we would use in a forest class. So the shoulders aren't protracted, they are sort of resting at neutral, but the elbows are coming in. It is deep breathing that makes this pose what it is. So use deep breathing. Here we are navigating a more intense pressure into the back ribs to allow for the low front ribs to open, the diaphragm to get more space, and the chest to expand. If you're using the block, get a feel for turning the head while pulling on the skull so you can begin to explore some of the tension spots around your shoulders and your neck. And perhaps, especially if back bends are a really flighty place for you, coming back to that repetition of Ananda. And you might find that the repetitions kind of blur into nothingness. That's fine, I think. Now gradually, find a way to use your arms the most to bring yourself out, so it's less of a heave. You might find going side on is a better way to get you out of there. From this place, clear your mat of props for now. We're just going to do a little bit on all fours. Come on to all fours. I'm going to tuck my t-shirt in just so that side on is an easier view. From all fours, just take a little bit of movement, so letting the shoulder blades come together, letting the head and neck move, getting the pelvis moving. So it isn't necessarily anything correct, it isn't breath cued, it is simply seeing what you're working with. You might get instant signals that the knees need more padding, or that maybe the mat needs to be folded under the knees, whatever you need. From where you are, hands can either be forwards, wrist sensitive. There's no point in making this a wrist thing, so turn the hands out. Push into your hands and lift between your shoulder blades so they're spreading, but look forwards. So it's still quite active. Actively stick your butt out, so you should feel like the lower back curve restores itself somewhat. Take a deep breath in. Without bending your right arm, exhale, lift the right hand, and then hover your left knee from the mat. So the knee isn't coming forwards, the knee is under the pelvis. Inhale, slowly set those down. Exhale, lift left hand, right knee. Inhale, set those down. Exhale, lift right hand, left knee. So right arm is straight, so you're not doing this to pick the hand up. Inhale, set that down. Exhale, lift left hand, right knee. Inhale, set that down. Do a postural check. Stick your butt out, look forwards, and draw the low ribs in. Deep breath in. Exhale, lift left hand, right knee. I think I've switched back to the other one. Inhale, set the hand down. Exhale, lift right hand, left knee. Inhale, set that down. Now from where you are, send your right leg straight back, toes tucked. Level your pelvis. So frequently when I see people do this next thing, the hip is really up. Level off your hips and then stick your butt out. So the lower back is in a really good place. Without allowing your lower back to move, inhale to lift up through your right heel, but feel for the thigh bone itself lifting kind of from the uppermost part of the thigh bone and lift from there. Let that be your focal point. Inhale, lift chest, look forwards. Exhale, square off the hip and flex the foot. Genuinely straighten your right leg. Just beginning to speak to those muscles a little bit. Inhale, bring that right leg in. Send your left leg back, toes tucked. Level the hips. Look forwards and drive back through your left heel. Inhale, lift the left leg, thinking about lifting from the thigh bone, but put a wee bit more weight into those hands. So focusing on switching on those leg muscles, lifting up through the uppermost part of your thigh bone. You should feel sensations through the buttock muscles, perhaps. Your abdomen, draw in and up, so making sure you're still in that protracted place in the shoulders. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, bring that leg down. Swing your legs around towards more of a seated position, so either swinging around or rocking back. For the next part, you can use a strap. So I'm going to present a couple of different options here. Some of you will do a restorative option using the strap. Some of you will use a strap as an arm extender. Some of you, if you don't have a strap or don't have anything, then you will use nothing. So you use your arms, because you still have arms at the end of the day, I assume. So here are the stages. The stage without the strap. Knee is in at the chest, working the legs straighter, but working with the thigh close to the ribs. Perhaps the hands go further up. So all of that doesn't change the shape or the nature of the pose, all right? Perhaps the other leg straightens. So there is option number one. Option number two, if you're a wee bit tighter, use a strap just underneath the ball of the foot, knee is in at the chest, and it's a slightly easier way to work this if you find that the reach is too much. There is another version of this which I am particularly fond of when my neck is getting grumpy, and it is foot in a loop of strap, and then hooking it just at the occipital ridge. The tension in this leg allows me to lean my head back into a bit of a cradle, and you can decide ears out or ears in. I guess it depends how you like to wear your ears. And then perhaps straightening the other leg out. This one you are able to be in without a huge amount of effort. It doesn't mean there won't be sensation, it just means it's less intense on your arms. So we have options. Come down onto your back first. If you've got a strap, great. If not, you've seen the options, we know what we're doing. Strap people, if you like the look of the last one, put the loop of the strap around your foot, left foot, and bring it behind your head, and then work out what you want to do with your ears. Arms are relaxed down by your sides or overhead. If you are not using the strap, bring the left knee into your chest with your right leg bent first. Press your butt into the mat. Gradually start to work the left leg straighter. So your aim isn't that the leg is straight, but more that you start to feel something in the back of that left leg. Now you can stay here, straightening the right leg, the other one, perhaps walking the hands further up or using the strap. If you're using a long strap or maybe a towel and it's a grip issue for you, wrap it around your wrists and around your hands and between your fingers, and you'll be able to hold it without doing a massive grip. So the tension in the friction rather, in the straps and or whatever you're using should hold it together pretty easily. I'm a big fan of this one because it can begin to move towards the restorative, soft realm. Bring back your steady breathing. Left hip has a tendency to ride up towards your left ribs. Actively send the left hip towards the front of the mat and very slightly try to press your butt into the yoga mat. If that's bringing your head and shoulders up, counter it by doing a wee chin tuck, pressing down through the back of your skull. Posturally, that's actually quite a good exercise to do to build the muscle awareness in the muscles that keep your head up. All right, now release, change to the other side. So maybe you're just simply changing the feet in the strap. If you didn't like something on one side and you want to do something different on this side, you are very welcome to do so. The sensations are very similar. You get less neck stuff going on if you're not doing the strap cradle, but hey, we'll get into neck stuff later. The right leg is working a bit straighter. Maybe the right hip is down. If you're doing the strap, it's around the foot and behind your skull. Arms can be down by your sides or overhead. I absolutely adore the overhead one for shoulder and neck stuff. Or you're using your arms on your leg anywhere that you can access, or using the strap. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, draw your right hip down away from your right ribs so the lower back feels long. Perhaps, once you have gotten to your happy place, the left leg can straighten. So now that you're on your back and maybe visually disconnected from a screen, you might find that you're distracting yourself visually. Go ahead and close your eyes. Focus on the sensations that are present. Are they enough to kind of blast you out of your body, or can you ease into that a little bit? So remember, the onus is on you to keep a hold of the reins in gentle flow. And now more than ever, like at no point physically in a yoga class when I was like right next to you, was it ever like push more, push harder, and physically pushing you. So right now, when we're distanced and I'm like so far away from you, it might be unreal, that still isn't happening. The onus is on you always. All right, release that leg, fully de-strap, so like especially if you've gotten into quite a state tying up. Roll to your right, use your arms to bring yourself up from the ground, and then use your right hand on the side of your head and lift your head up. For this next piece, you're going to be sitting cross-legged. If your hips don't appreciate that, then go ahead and sit on a block. Like this next part can totally be done sitting elevated. If you don't have a block, you can sit on the roll, a folded up blanket, or the end of your bolster, or those pillows, if you grabbed any of those things, which I hope you did. The next piece, while not specifically yoga, almost falls into the category of myofascial, but if you've done classes with me before, you will recognize what is happening here. So for now, you just need to find somewhere. So lean your head back so your head is in line with your shoulders, and turn your head as much as you can. So if you've turned your head left, take your head onto the right side of your neck, and you should be able to feel a muscle that is going from essentially like the nearest point of your collarbone all the way up behind your ear onto the sticky out bit of bone at the back of your head. So that's called the mastoid process back there. Okay, so in this bit, if you kind of come down off of there, so further away from your throat, and then bring your head back, you should feel like you're on different muscles. So these muscles here are kind of hooking into first, are hooking into first and second ribs. So they're under here, you can't really get to that bit. But they are some of the muscles that are responsible for pulling your head forwards and then making you overwork your trapezius to try and bring your head up. So they're a massive problem area for every human ever. So you'll be navigating these muscles. Now some of you might be tempted to work onto these big heavy lifters, fair enough. But know that usually the relationship that's pulling your head forwards, it's not the fault of these ones that usually are sore. They are the victims of what the culprits are doing around the front. So these are your scalenes. What you're going to be doing is essentially leaning away, feeling for where it's tense, bringing the head back up, hooking your fingers in, and then leaning away. And it should stretch and give you different sensations as we start to release into this area. So to begin with, take your right fingers onto the right side of your neck. So again, not into your throat, to the side just above your collarbone. Allow your head to lean left and feel with your fingers where it is pulling tight. Inhale, bring your head back up and lean it to the right. Hook your fingers in. Exhale, slowly lean your head back to the left. Inhale, bring your head up. Maybe you're moving further up or further down. Lean the head left. Nope, to the right. Oh. Exhale, lean the head left. Inhale up, lean the head to the right. Hook the fingers in. Exhale, lean the head left. So you should feel a bit of a sliding glide, but your aim is to see if you can hook as much as possible. Do two more. Maybe you are working onto trapezius. If you're doing trapezius, you might find chin tucking down feels a bit better to work with. All right, now after that second one, we're going to change sides. So if working same arm as side doesn't feel good, you can always cross your arm over. So finding that left side of the neck, lean the head away to the right to feel where is tight. Inhale, bring your head up, lean it left, hook, Exhale, lean the head over to the right. Inhale up, lean the head left. Hook the fingers in. Exhale, stretch everything over to the right. So we have 3 more of those. Work into the areas that feel like it needs it rather than avoiding them. That doesn't really make much sense. Like, oh, you're tight, I'll just leave you alone. Like, work with that area. All right, then bring your head down. Come off of the block, come back onto all fours. Clear your runway. From all fours, make sure there's a little bit of space at the front of your mat. I just like to make sure that you are fully centralized, not only on your mat, but in yourself. Take a deep breath in, lift between your shoulder blades, send your left leg back, and then your right, so you're finding plank. Exhale, press your hips up and back. Let the neck relax. Inhale, move your shoulders in front of your wrists. Perhaps you're setting the knees down for plank, so remember shoulders in front of wrists. Exhale, press the hips up and back. Legs can totally be bent. Inhale, shift forwards. I'm showing you the knees down version. Feel free to do knees up. Exhale, press the hips up and back, aiming to really stick your butt out in down. Inhale, shifts forwards. Exhale, hips go up and back. Inhale, set your knees down. Now your aim is to sit with your shoulders above your hips. If that doesn't work, then you might find that he says a well-positioned block. Don't throw it at your feet, they won't appreciate it. You might find that a well-positioned block will help you navigate this. We're moving into Moon Salutation. I really love doing this in this class because it creates a very different type of movement when we're standing up. So if kneeling works, great. If kneeling does not work, then you improvise. So you might find that standing on the knees works. So you'll do your inhale part here. Your exhale goes to child's pose, which might be less of an angle in the knees, to tabletop to down dog, and then repeating that. So you don't need to be sitting back on the heels. If you can sit back on the heels, then we'll work with that. From where you are, open your arms out to the side. Elbows are bent about 90 degrees. Elbows in line with shoulders. Draw your low ribs in, deep breath in. Without moving your head, exhale, squeeze your shoulders back. Feel for the hands coming with you, so you've not left them forwards. They're coming back, so you're getting this double chest opener. Inhale, bring the arms up, turn the palms to face one another. Child's pose. Exhale, hands slide forwards. Tabletop. Inhale, bring the shoulders in front of wrists. So this tabletop's a bit longer than our last one. Downward facing dog. Exhale. Cat. Inhale, set the knees down, lift the skull, lift the sit bones, so the chest is coming down, squeeze your hands towards your knees. Child's pose or standing on the knees. Exhale, hips go back. Inhale, come up, shoulders are above hips, bring the arms up. Exhale, bring the arms out to that cactus arm position. Squeeze your shoulder blades back. So remember, if your knees don't like this, then you can be here, squeezing your shoulder blades back and tucking the tailbone down. Inhale, bring the arms up, wrap your shoulders so palms are spinning forwards, elbows are pointing forwards. Child's pose. Exhale. Inhale, bring shoulders in front of wrists. Downward facing dog. Exhale. Cat. Inhale, set your knees down, lift skull, lift sit bones. Child's pose. Exhale. Inhale, bring yourself back up. Maybe you're standing on the knees, arms are up. Cactus arms. Exhale, squeeze shoulder blades back. It's tempting to shove your ribs forwards. Pull your ribs in, squeeze your shoulder blades back. Now staying in this drawn back place in the shoulders, so shoulder blades are retracted and squeezing towards each other. Keep them like this, palms face forwards, inhale, bring the arms up. So your aim is to see how far back can you keep your arms without shearing into your ribcage. Exhale, bring the arms down. Inhale, bring the arms up, this time palms face one another, very different creature. Child's pose. Exhale. Tabletop. Inhale, bring your shoulders in front of your wrists. Downward facing dog. Exhale. Cat with a twist, literally. Inhale, set your knees down, pause. Have your pelvis above your knees, stick your butt out a little bit, and take the left hand to the center of your yoga mat. The right hand is going to go down on top of that. In this next bit, it's tempting to like really funk it up. Notice that was an NK. So your aim is to keep your pelvis pretty still, so you're moving into your mid-back. Inhale, open your right arm out to the right and turn your chest up. Exhale, bring the arm down. Inhale, open up. Exhale, bring the arm down. Inhale, open up. The head is moving with, but you're not turning to stare at the arm. Exhale, bring it down. Inhale, open up. Exhale, bring it down. Now move the hands under the shoulders. Deep breath in. Exhale, right arm is coming underneath the left, setting the right shoulder down, setting the head down. Put a wee bit more weight onto your left knee and press into your left palm. Breathe in a way that gets into the upper back. So thinking about the back ribs and shoulder. So after dynamic movement, static poses can almost seem dull. So I want you to come back to those elements of sensory withdrawal, breathing focus, your own focus, and then perhaps that repetition, that japa of Ananda. Inhale, press into your left palm, bring yourself back. Take the right hand forwards and more to the center of your mat. Hips are pointing back. Take the left hand down alongside. Inhale, open the left arm out to left, turning the chest. Exhale, bring the arm down. Inhale, open up. Exhale, bring the arm down. So the arm is staying straight. I'm just trying to avoid hitting my curtains. Inhale, bring the arm up. Exhale, down. Inhale, open up. Exhale, down. Bring the hands under the shoulders. Deep breath in, lift that left hand. Exhale, thread the left arm underneath the right. Take care this doesn't move into the realm of child's pose. So you usually see very flexed lower backs in this case. If anything, the lower back is slightly extended as you work that press to the right palm. Put a wee bit more weight into the right knee and switch deep breathing on. Inhale, bring yourself back through center. Child's pose, so we're still in the midst of that moon salutation. Inhale, bring yourself up towards seated. Perhaps you're doing that standing on the knees. Bring the arms up, palms face one another. Cactus arms. Exhale. Inhale, reach up, palms face one another. Child's pose. Exhale. Tabletop. Inhale. Downward facing dog. Exhale. Now listen up. Exhale, bring your left knee so it's almost under your left armpit. Put your right knee down. From this place, use your abdominal muscles to squeeze your left knee towards your left wrist. So you might need to use your hands to help. Don't move your hands back to make it look like they got there, because that's not the same thing as moving the knee with your hands. Move the angle to about 4 o'clock if your head is at 12. Now this might be where you stay. So if you've got knee stuff, being higher up is going to be better, so there's less pressure on the knee. Push down through your left leg, so you feel yourself lifting. Right toes stay tucked, but scoop your rib cage forwards. So think like cat. Maybe the right toes are pulling you back. So we're treating this as a pigeon backbend. So there is pigeon forward bend, which is this sort of flexed forward position. We're looking for pigeon backbend today. Take a deep breath in. Downward facing dog. Exhale, so maybe you're pulling back onto all fours and then pressing the hips up and back. Pigeon on the other side. Set the knees down. Exhale, bring your right knee towards your right wrist. So you're squeezing the knee forwards. Move the shin to about 8 o'clock. Left leg is moving back, but push down to your legs first. So some of you may be navigating further back. Knee stuff, you're still in a rotated position even if you don't feel like you've gone massively far. Pull your hands towards your hips to help scoop your chest forwards. Take a deep breath in. Downward dog. Exhale, either step it straight up and back or do that via tabletop. Cat. Inhale, knees go down, lift skull, lift sit bones. Child's pose. Exhale. Inhale, slide the arms up, bring the arms up. So maybe you're doing this standing on the knees, remember, cactus arms, exhale. Inhale, reach up, palms face one another. Child's pose, exhale. Tabletop, inhale, shoulders above wrists. Downward facing dog, exhale. Pigeon, inhale, left leg comes forward. So however you're doing that, maybe you're doing it from down dog, maybe you're doing it from tabletop, lift chest. Downward facing dog, exhale. Pigeon, inhale, bring the right leg forwards this time, lift the chest. Downward facing dog, exhale. So having those toes tucked the whole time just makes the transition a wee bit easier. Cat, inhale, knees down, lift skull, lift sit bones. Child's pose, exhale. Inhale, pull the arms back in, bring the arms up. Cactus arms, exhale. Inhale, bring the arms up. Child's pose, exhale. Tabletop, inhale, shoulders above wrists. Downward facing dog, exhale. Pigeon, inhale, left leg comes forwards, pause. So especially if this pose is feeling tricky for you, you can take a blanket, fold it up, a roll or something underneath your pelvis, so not so much your left thigh, more your pelvis. If it's so great big huge that it's kind of pulling you out of the pose, it's probably too much. If you don't need it, don't use it. From hands forward, see if hands can navigate further back. Legs are strongly pushing down. Now if it's a strong day, obviously gentle flow. Strong day, maybe these two don't go hand in hand. But I know for me, like, it doesn't feel like a cost to bring my arms up, but that's not the same for everybody. I do this a lot, okay? So maybe you're bringing your arms up. It is more challenging than it looks, like the back muscles have to be fully engaged, because it's not just the same as sitting up, my pelvis is tilted forwards. So see if that feels navigable, otherwise hands are down or they're in the same place. Deep breath in. Down dog, hands come down, go to down dog on the tiptoes. Inhale, step it back on tiptoes. Exhale, press the heels down. I'm leaving my props there. Pigeon, right leg comes forwards. With the props there, put the pelvis right back down onto them, handy. Inhale, scoop the chest forward so you get that back bend feel. Perhaps the hands are walking back. Push down into your base. So this isn't about flopping into it. Stay active, stay engaged. Maybe bringing the arms up, squeezing the shoulder blades back so you get this double chest opener, pigeon. And especially if this is starting to get your heart rate up or you're starting to get stressed about the pose, come back to your breathing, come back to your intent. Are you working this in a way that is restorative? Or, well, maybe not restorative, but is gentle? And can you bring back that mantra repetition if that is useful to you? Inhale, set your hands down. Go back to down dog on tiptoes. Move any props out of the way that you were using. Exhale, press the heels downwards. Cat. Inhale, knees go down, lift skull, lift sit bones. Child's pose. Exhale. Inhale, bring the arms up. Maybe you're standing on the knees. Exhale, squeeze your shoulder blades back towards each other. Inhale, lift the arms up. Child's pose. Exhale. Tabletop. Inhale, shoulders above wrists. Downward facing dog. Exhale. Now this time, set your right knee down. So right knee is down, right hand is down. Step your left foot so that it is 30 centimeters away from your right hand. And then come up. If you need to pad that right knee, do so. I usually work on 2 yoga mats just so I've got the extra padding for the knee, and toes tucked or foot flat is personal preference depending on how your kneecap is sitting. Head is up, so if you're looking down at a screen, lift your head for a moment. Inhale, bring the arms up, elbows in line with shoulders. Exhale, take your left elbow over your right elbow and hug your shoulders. So if you're newer to eagle arms, this is still giving the opening in the shoulder blades that we're looking for. If a little more rotation is available, then the right hand is coming towards your face to hold the left palm. If you've got your fingers, I want you to hold your palm so it's less tight. Inhale, lift the elbows. Exhale, tuck your tailbone down and begin to lower into your lunge without it being a collapse. So there's a forward and up action in the chest, feet are pressing down. Inhale to release the arms, set your hands down. So we're going to that down dog on tiptoes. You might find it's easier to get back to that with the hands to the inside. Inhale, step back on the tiptoes. Exhale, press the heels down. Lunge. I like to, especially if this is a newer action, put the left knee down, weight is like side plank, and then stepping the right foot forwards is like the least drama way of getting that there. Square off the hips, make sure the back leg is on straight. Inhale, bring the arms up. Eagle arms. Exhale, right arm goes over the left. Wrap the arms or hold the shoulder heads. If you're holding the shoulder heads, reach the elbows forward so you get the unlock on the shoulders, or hold. So it's a protracted shoulder blade. Inhale, lift up through the elbows. Exhale, tuck tailbone down and begin to lower into the lunge. Deep breathing will be your biggest asset here. And by now, Ujjayi might sound louder and more full. So especially if, like me, you are plagued by snot demons at this time of year, maybe things feel a little drier. Inhale, release the hands down. Find the way back to down dog on tiptoes, so maybe tabletop and then lifting. During the exhale, press the heels downwards. Cat. Inhale, set the knees down, lift the skull, lift the sit bones. Exhale, press the hips towards the heels for child's pose. Inhale, come on up, bring the arms up. Cactus arms. Exhale, squeeze shoulder blades back. This time, inhale to relax the arms down. Take the legs around, so you're in more of a seated position. The next pose is deceptive. It looks like it's going to be super easy, but there are many different things that happen, and I think a lot of people convince themselves they've gone really far, when actually what's happening is an excessive rounding in the lower back. So I'm going to show you. Some of you will use a strap for this. The strap is great for this, or a towel, or even if you've got a jumper, use your jumper, whatever you've got to use. So, what this pose is, I prefer it with a strap. So if you watch first, strap is going around the ball of the foot, knees are coming in towards the chest, and the head is definitely down. I want to keep the knees as close to my chest as possible, and then using my leg strength to gradually work the legs straighter and pressing out through the foot. I'm using the straps to keep the ball of the foot from the big toe to the pinky toe level rather than the usual sort of turnout that tends to happen. Now in this position, this is as far as I can go without the pelvis starting to lift. So this looks deeper, but my pelvis is up. So I want to keep my pelvis down on the ground as I bring the legs in. Now some of you may not have a strap, so you might be doing this holding the feet or the calves or the ankles and gradually working the legs straight but pressing the pelvis down. So you have got some options here. You can do it holding onto the big toes. I recommend a strong knee to chest before doing that, but pelvis is down. And instead of being flexed, you're kind of somewhere in between. You're not at a point, you're not at a deep flex, you're somewhere in between where you get a good hold on that or where the strap isn't going to slide off. Okay, come on down. So hamstring persuasion, we've done the single leg version. If you're using the strap, have the feet so they're a little bit apart, almost like a block distance apart. So your thighs are tracking hip distance. Push your pelvis into the mat and then bend your legs. So you're thinking knees are coming into chest. If your knees are rotating wide like dead bug, parallel them. Now in this place, pelvis is down, tuck the chin to press down through the back of the skull and gradually start to straighten the legs. It's way spicy. Now chances are if I had little lasers on your kneecaps, they would actually be pointing to about a 1 o'clock and an 11 o'clock. Get your kneecaps tracking to 12 o'clock. So they're tracking straight to the back of the room. You should start to feel, especially like that tendon to the inside of your thigh starting to speak more. Now, if you're starting to round your lower back to get further, press your pelvis down, focus on extending the legs instead. This pose can be brought to life with deep breathing. So your thighs are in at your ribs, press your abdomen into your thighs. It's a deceptive wee creature. All right, release the legs, set your feet flat, roll to your left-hand side, and then bring yourself up towards seated. The next pose, as we have been working, has multiple strategies, but I would say it's useful to have some prerequisites here. So if, in a bent leg position, sitting, your lower back is rounded, I strongly recommend you do this with your pelvis elevated. All right, so I'll show you that in a second. If you're able to be here and be not only like straight up, but very slightly into the lumbar curve, you kind of got permission to go forwards here without excessive rounding in the back. And essentially this pose is wrapping around the bottom of the legs and starting to walk the feet forwards, but keeping the ribs as close to the thighs and relaxing the neck. You might find that you want to bring some props into this. I've chosen the wrong prop to put on the bottom. I've chosen the hard one to put on the top. That was silly. And again, thinking like the previous pose, the tendency is for the knees to roll out, especially fellas, you tend to do that a lot. So that's option one, propless or prop-ish. If you're tighter, then being here, I'm working with a better tilt. The angle is going to be more in my favor. I'm leaning forward so my heels are the low point. If you've got a bolster, then perhaps that is one of your locations and it goes underneath your knees and you're in this forward bend with the neck long. So there are different options here, right? If you wish, you can also do the one with the bolster underneath, but I recommend that you're not fully impacted on the bolster and then you walk into it until you meet it. So come on in, so the supported forward bend. If these feel deceptively challenged and you're used to classes with me, we don't tend to do double leg forward bends a lot in my classes, but here we are doing them just now. So Paschimottanasana is double forward bend. Once you're in, do a little bit of a caterpillar-like action. So inhale to pull your chest up, so the arms are still bound. Scoop your chest forwards. Exhale, use your arms to pull your chest closer to your legs and relax the neck. If your pelvis and lower back can translate it, try to stick your butt out. So it's a small movement that's very active. And switch on deep breathing. So this is a biggie. If your ribs and abdomen are really tight to your legs, when you do your deep breathing into the front body, you should feel that expansion around your back. All right, inhale, come up. If you've got props under your knees, this might be your Shavasana position. So you might be laying down, props underneath your knees to be comfortable. If you liked how we started, you can bring it around again and work into chest opener, palms facing up, soles of the feet in Baddha Konasana, perhaps using the strap. So we're kind of coming full circle with where we've gone today. So choose a comfortable rest position. That might mean with props. If not, then you can be wherever you need to be. If you're super coffee and super sneezy, then perhaps sitting upright with your eyes closed will be a good Shavasana option. At the end of Shavasana, I will bring you around. So refrain from hanging up or touching out of the class. This is still a valid part of the class experience. Stay in this relaxed state. Bring back the repetition internally of Ananda, peace. Let that have your focus. Let that have your attention. Perhaps it's even a sensation that you can feel. Maintain this action, but start to deepen your breath. If you're in a supine position with the knees wide, use your hands to assist the knees in towards each other. So feet are flat. Take some movement into your fingers, your toes. Roll onto your left side, or however is easiest for you to come up if you're using lots of props. And come up towards a seated position. Feel free to use any supports with your seated position so you're more comfortable, more upright. Once you're up, be seated. Close your eyes. Switch on deep breathing. Allow yourself to be drawn into the sensations that are present, rather than any urgency for anything else. Add into the mix that repetition. Let it almost be like a heartbeat, sending it through your body. Bring your hands together at chest. Take a very deep breath in. Exhale, bow forwards. Namaste.